Clone Wars lasted 3 years and destroyed the galaxy, but the war's defining moments happened in battles that most people misunderstand. From Geonosis, where everything started, to Coruscant, where the Republic capital burned, to the final desperate siege of Mandalore, these 12 battles shaped the galaxy's fate, and a lot of them were darker than you think, starting with the one that kicked everything off. First Battle of Geonosis. The Clone Wars officially began when 212 Jedi and thousands of clone troopers landed on Geonosis in 22 BBY. This was supposed to be a rescue mission. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme were captured and sentenced to execution in an arena, which sounds bad enough. But then the Separatists realized the Jedi had brought an entire army of clones nobody knew existed, and the whole thing escalated into the first full-scale battle of the war. The arena fight is what everyone remembers. Mace Windu decapitating Jango Fett, Yoda pulling out a lightsaber for the first time, iconic stuff. But the actual battle was a bloodbath. Clone commando units got thrown into frontline combat alongside standard infantry. Jedi commanders treated specialized forces like expendable shock troops, and thousands of clones died in a single afternoon. Here's where it gets worse. The Republic technically won, but capturing droid foundries doesn't mean you can use them. The battle's strategic value was questionable at best, and Dooku escaped anyway with the Separatist leadership intact. The Republic declared victory while standing on a planet full of dead clones and smoldering wreckage. But if you think one planet full of dead clones was bad, wait until you see what happened when the Separatists decided to blockade an entire crystal mining world. Battle of Christopsis. This is when the Republic proved it could actually win. Several months after Geonosis, the Separatists occupied Christopsis and deployed a full blockade around the planet. Anakin and Obi-Wan arrived with 2 battalions and 3 Venator-class Star Destroyers, broke the blockade in a matter of hours, and forced the entire droid fleet to retreat. That's not hyperbole. 3 ships dismantled an entire Separatist naval operation. On the ground, General Horm Loathsome deployed overwhelming droid numbers, including B-2 super battle droids, Octoptera droids, and entire columns of battle droids backed by heavy artillery. The Republic was outnumbered and outgunned on paper, but coordinated Jedi clone operations proved devastating. A single Jedi commander with an armed squad of clones could neutralize an entire droid column. Loathsome's forces controlled defensive positions protected by a shield generator that made direct assault impossible. Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker infiltrated Separatist lines, planted charges, and destroyed the shield generator in one coordinated detonation. The entire Separatist occupation collapsed. Loathsome surrendered, and Christopsis fell under Republic control. One well-placed explosion ended months of occupation and forced a Separatist general to his knees. This became the template for the entire war. But if you think one surprise attack is impressive, wait until you see what happens when commandos defend an outpost with zero backup. Battle of Rishi Moon. The Battle of Rishi Moon is either the most important Clone Wars engagement you've never heard of, or the battle that almost lost the war before it really started. It's definitely that second one, because in 22 BBY, a small listening post on a backwater moon became the only thing standing between the Republic and total military collapse. Here's what happened. Commando droids infiltrated and completely overran the Republic outpost stationed on Rishi Moon. This was part of General Grievous and Asajj Ventress's plan to attack Kamino itself, the clone production facilities that were literally the only source of troops for the entire Republic army. Keep Rishi Station's all-clear signal broadcasting while they snuck a Separatist fleet straight to Kamino. No warning, no defense. Just a surprise assault on the Republic's entire military production capacity. The only problem was Domino Squad. 5 rookie clones, fresh out of training, stationed at the worst possible place at the worst possible time. Droid bait, cut up, Heavy, Echo, and Fives became the last defense. 3 of them died during the fighting. These weren't experienced commandos. These were cadets who'd barely finished basic training. Captain Rex arrived, found the outpost compromised, and made the only choice that made sense. Blow the whole thing up, deactivate the all-clear signal, and warn the Republic. It worked. Destroying Rishi Station prevented the surprise assault on Kamino, saving the Republic's clone production and the entire war effort. If that outpost had stayed compromised for another hour, the Clone Wars end in 22 BBY with a Separatist victory. 3 rookies sacrificed so the galaxy could keep fighting. But if you think one ghost station is disturbing, the Battle of Ryloth proved that entire planets could become battlegrounds where freedom itself was the contested territory. Battle of Ryloth. Ryloth should have been just another occupied world on a growing list of Separatist conquests. but it became something else entirely, a template, a legend, the planet the Twi'leks still sang about decades later when the Empire came for them again. The Techno Union conquered Ryloth early in the war and turned it into an industrial nightmare, stripping the planet's resources to feed separatist droid production. Standard occupation playbook: install garrison forces, exploit local manufacturing capacity, crush resistance. What they didn't count on was Cham Syndulla, who founded a resistance movement that refused to accept defeat. Syndulla's fighters conducted systematic raids against occupation forces, disrupting supply lines and making life hell for the droids holding his world. The Republic recognized what was happening here and sent Mace Windu with the 91st Mobile Reconnaissance Corps to coordinate with local resistance. This wasn't conquest, this was liberation warfare. Windu didn't invade Ryloth. He partnered with the people already fighting there. The climactic Battle of Lesu saw Republic forces and Twi'lek resistance storming the planetary capital together, breaking the occupation and sending the separatists running. Here's the thing about Ryloth that makes it different from every other battle on this list. The people remembered. They immortalized Mace Windu and Cham Syndulla in songs, calling them the Hammer of Ryloth. When the Empire occupied the planet years later, Twi'leks still sang those songs. Cultural memory is more powerful than any military victory, and Ryloth proved that some battles echo across generations. But if you think one successful liberation campaign meant the Republic had figured out how to win the war, the Second Battle of Geonosis is about to prove otherwise. Second Battle of Geonosis. Back to where it all began. But this time, the Republic wasn't playing defense. In 21 BBY, Senator Padme Amidala's covert mission to Cato Neimoidia revealed something genuinely alarming. The Separatists had quietly retaken Geonosis and rebuilt massive droid factories under everyone's noses. The Republic's intelligence network had completely missed the Confederacy, re-establishing industrial operations on the planet that started the entire war, which is, not ideal. The Republic's response was a full-scale planetary invasion, representing a far more ambitious operation than the first battle. This wasn't about stopping a separatist summit or rescuing captured Jedi. This was about destroying the material foundation of separatist war production. The droid factories on Geonosis had become some of the largest manufacturing facilities in the galaxy, pumping out millions of battle droids. The Republic committed massive military resources to breaching deflector shields, establishing landing zones, and systematically dismantling the production infrastructure. Here's where it gets weird. The Republic sent Padawans Ahsoka Tano and Barriss Offee to infiltrate the main factory and blow up the reactor. Not experienced Jedi Masters, not commando units, but teenagers still in training. The decision demonstrated either complete confidence in young Jedi capabilities or desperate shortage of experienced personnel. Either way, they succeeded. The reactor detonated, the factory collapsed, and separatist production capacity took a massive hit, but the casualties were severe. The Republic bled forces during the Second Battle of Geonosis, sustaining losses that demonstrated a fundamental problem. Destroying separatist infrastructure required throwing bodies at fortified positions. The factories were gone, which was essential, but the cost showed the Republic was bleeding out, victory by victory. If you think retaking one planet hurt, wait until you hear about the Separatists attacking the Republic's clone production facilities directly. Battle of Kamino. In 21 BBY, the Separatists did something genuinely terrifying. They attacked the Republic's beating heart. General Grievous led a massive fleet of Trident-class assault ships directly to Kamino with one singular goal: destroy every clone production facility on the planet and ensure the Republic's army stops existing. Here's where it gets dark. Aqua droids swam through the waters of Tipoca City, breaching the exterior walls and flooding into the cloning chambers. Battle droids were literally fighting their way through corridors filled with clone embryos, shooting at the vats and genetic repositories that represented the Republic's entire capacity to continue the war. Clone troopers defended infrastructure that quite literally created them. The irony writes itself. Soldiers fighting to protect the facility where they were manufactured as products. The Republic managed to hold Kamino, barely, but the facilities took extensive damage, and the psychological impact was devastating. The attack proved that Republic intelligence had been compromised at the highest levels. If Separatist forces could penetrate to Kamino undetected and threaten the cloning operation itself, then nowhere was safe. No Republic world was beyond reach. The Separatists lost the battle but won the morale victory. They demonstrated that the Republic's strategic depth was an illusion. One successful strike on Kamino and the entire war effort collapses, but at least Kamino survived with functioning infrastructure, unlike the horror show waiting at the Citadel prison on Lola Sayu. Battle of Lola Sayu. The Republic pulled off one of the ballsiest rescue operations of the entire Clone Wars, and lost a Jedi Master in the process. In 20 BBY, Jedi Master Even Piell and Captain Wilhuff Tarkin were captured after discovering coordinates for the Nexus route, a secret hyperspace lane running straight between Republic and Confederate space, the kind of intel that wins wars. The Republic launched a specialized infiltration on the Citadel, a separatist prison designed specifically to hold Jedi. This wasn't some backwater detention center. The Citadel had electrified walls, ray shields, and battle droids programmed to counter Force abilities. Breaking into this fortress required absolute commitment to the mission, no matter the cost. The rescue team found Piell and began the extraction, but during the escape, Jedi Master Even Piell was killed before he could be transported to safety. A Jedi Master gone, not in some grand battlefield sacrifice, but in a prison break that shouldn't have been necessary if the Republic had protected its intelligence properly. Despite Piell's death, Captain Tarkin and the Nexus route intelligence were successfully recovered. The mission was technically a success. They got the coordinates, they brought Tarkin home. But you have to ask yourself whether one hyperspace route was worth a Jedi's life. The Republic certainly thought so. And here's the kicker. Tarkin survived. Tarkin, who would go on to command the Death Star, who would become one of the Empire's most ruthless leaders, learned exactly how expendable lives were during this operation. He watched a Jedi Master die to save him and that hyperspace data. That's a lesson he never forgot. But if you think losing one Jedi Master in a prison break was bad, wait until you hear about the planet where clone troopers were deliberately sent to die by their own commanding officer. Battle of Umbara. The 501st Legion invaded Umbara to retake a planet that had sided with the Separatists. Standard operation: capture the world, restore Republic control, move on. Except the enemy wasn't the Separatists. It was the Jedi General commanding the operation. Pong Krell was assigned to lead the 501st after Anakin Skywalker was recalled to Coruscant. The clones had no reason to suspect anything. Krell was a Jedi Master with an impressive combat record, 4 arms, dual double-bladed lightsabers, aggressive tactics. He seemed like exactly the kind of commander you'd want. But here's where it gets dark. Krell was deliberately getting his own troops killed. He refused tactical withdrawals when positions became untenable. He ordered frontal assaults against fortified Umbaran positions without reconnaissance. He sent clone squads into ambushes he knew about in advance. And when officers questioned his orders, he accused them of cowardice and threatened execution for insubordination. The 501st took massive casualties. Clone troopers were dying in situations that never should have been lethal, pushed into engagements where survival was impossible, and Krell kept ordering them forward. The truth came out when Captain Rex discovered Krell had been communicating with Count Dooku. Krell was trying to prove himself worthy of becoming Dooku's new apprentice by betraying the Republic and maximizing clone casualties as proof of his commitment to the dark side. When confronted, Krell attacked his own troops with both lightsabers. Clone troopers who had trusted him, followed his orders, died under his command, and he tried to kill every single one of them. The Battle of Umbara proved that the Republic's greatest weakness wasn't separatist military strength, it was internal corruption. Commanders pursuing personal power while treating soldiers as expendable resources. At least the clones on Umbara eventually realized what was happening. The forces heading to Anaxes would face enemies who were far more competent. Battle of Anaxes. By 19 BBY, both sides were running on fumes. The Outer Rim sieges dragged on for months, grinding armies into dust one system at a time, and Anaxes became the site of one of the war's longest and most brutal engagements. Admiral Trench launched a full-scale invasion to capture the planet's vital shipyards, the facilities that kept the Republic's fleet operational. Jedi generals Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker led the defense. But after weeks of non-stop fighting, the planet began falling to separatist forces. Both militaries were exhausted, casualties were mounting, and Anaxes represented exactly the kind of strategic target that could shift the war's momentum. But here's where it gets interesting. The Republic wasn't just fighting with blasters and starfighters. They were running intelligence operations that would make modern spy agencies jealous. ARC Trooper Echo, who everyone thought was dead, had been captured by the Separatists and turned into a living algorithm processor feeding tactical data to Admiral Trench. The Separatists were using his mind to predict Republic strategies, which explained why they'd been winning for weeks. When Clone Force 99 discovered Echo was alive and extracted him, they cut off Trench's intelligence advantage entirely. Trench, suspecting something might be wrong, installed a backup bomb near the fusion reactor powerful enough to destroy most of Anaxes, because why win cleanly when you can rig the entire battlefield as a failsafe? Anakin confronted Trench directly and forced him to give up the disarm code. The bomb was defused, the Separatist command structure collapsed, and the Republic secured Anaxes after months of brutal fighting. The Battle of Anaxes proved that by the war's final year, victory didn't go to whoever had more troops. It went to whoever could manipulate the other side into making fatal mistakes. But if you think one brilliant intelligence operation was impressive, wait until you see what the Separatists pulled off when they launched a direct assault on Coruscant itself, the Republic's capital world that had remained untouched for the entire war. Battle of Coruscant. The Republic capital under siege, the untouchable heart of galactic civilization burning in orbit. In 19 BBY, General Grievous arrived above Coruscant with a massive Separatist fleet, catching the Republic completely off guard. The Coruscant Home Defense Fleet scrambled to respond. Dozens of ships were destroyed in the opening minutes. Clone and droid fighters turned the orbital space into a kill zone. Grievous's forces fought their way to the surface, not to invade the entire planet, but to execute a single mission: capture Supreme Chancellor Palpatine. Palpatine was taken aboard the Invisible Hand, Grievous's flagship. The entire Republic military mobilized to rescue him. Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi led the operation, fighting through orbital chaos and breaching the flagship to retrieve the Chancellor. The mission succeeded. Palpatine was rescued, Grievous escaped, and the Separatist fleet withdrew. But here's the kicker. The whole thing was theater. Palpatine orchestrated the entire attack himself. He knew the Jedi were closing in on his identity as Darth Sidious, so he arranged his own kidnapping to create the perfect scenario for manipulating Anakin further. Grievous had no idea he was executing a false flag operation. He genuinely believed he was conducting a military strike to capture the Republic's leader. The devastation was real. The casualties were real. The orbital fires visible from the surface, the ships torn apart in space, the chaos that gripped the capital, all of it happened. But the strategic purpose was never Separatist victory. It was Sith manipulation, wrapped in the appearance of the Republic's greatest crisis. The Battle of Coruscant proved that no world was safe, not even the capital. But at least it was over quickly, unlike the brutal assault the Republic would launch on Utapau to hunt down Grievous. Battle of Utapau. The Republic won the Clone Wars on Utapau, and in the exact same moment, they lost everything. In 19 BBY, intelligence revealed General Grievous had fled to Utapau after the Battle of Coruscant. Obi-Wan Kenobi and the 212th Attack Battalion deployed to finish what the entire war had been building toward. Kenobi landed ahead of the main clone force, located Grievous on the 10th level, and engaged him in a fierce lightsaber duel that went on long enough to prove Grievous was genuinely trying to survive. Kenobi killed the cyborg general before he could escape. Grievous's death was considered the symbolic end of the Clone Wars militarily. The Separatist military leader was dead. The droid armies had no coordination. The Republic had won. But here's the kicker. Moments after this triumph, Order 66 was issued. The clone troopers who had just secured the Republic's greatest victory turned their blasters on Kenobi. Commander Cody, who had fought beside Kenobi for 3 years, ordered the execution without hesitation because a biochip in his brain removed the choice entirely. The military victory meant absolutely nothing, because the real war was never about droids versus clones. It was political. And the Republic lost that war the moment Palpatine became Chancellor. The tragic irony is perfect. The exact moment the Jedi achieved their greatest military success was the exact moment the Jedi Order was destroyed. Utapau represented the Republic's final stand as a democratic institution, and it happened while that institution was actively transforming into the Galactic Empire. Kenobi escaped aboard Grievous's own starfighter, but thousands of Jedi across the galaxy didn't. The Clone Wars officially ended with Grievous's death, after which the remaining Separatist leaders were assassinated on Mustafar by Darth Vader, but the conflict's conclusion was overshadowed entirely by institutional betrayal on a galactic scale. At least Utapau was a clean military victory. The Siege of Mandalore was messier, more personal, and happened at the exact same time as everything fell apart. Siege of Mandalore. The Siege of Mandalore is the real ending to the Clone Wars. Not Utapau, not Coruscant. This. While Obi-Wan was killing Grievous and Anakin was falling to the dark side, Ahsoka Tano and Clone Commander Rex were liberating an entire planet from Maul's criminal occupation. And it happened completely off-screen from the movies because apparently the most emotionally devastating moment of the entire war wasn't important enough to mention. Ahsoka and Rex led a division split from the 501st to support Bo-Katan's rebellion against the Shadow Collective occupying Mandalore. This was what the Clone Wars should have been from the beginning, actually saving people, actually liberating occupied worlds from tyranny, but it happened as the galaxy was burning. While they were fighting to free Mandalore, Palpatine issued Order 66, and Rex's behavioral modification biochip forced him to turn on Ahsoka in programmed betrayal. His own brain made him execute the person he'd fought beside for years. The horror of that moment cannot be overstated, but here's where it gets complicated. Rex and other clones removed their biochips. They physically cut the programming out of their heads. The supposedly inescapable control that the Kaminoans built into every clone trooper could be resisted. Individual agency could win against institutional programming. Not every clone could do it. Most didn't even get the chance. But the ones who did proved that the clones weren't just biological machines executing orders. They were people who could choose. The Siege of Mandalore represents the perfect bitter conclusion to the Clone Wars, a rare moment of genuine liberation achieved while the Jedi Order was systematically destroyed. Ahsoka survived, Rex survived, Mandalore was freed, but the Republic they fought for was gone, replaced by the Empire. The Jedi they served were dead, and the victory they achieved meant nothing in the larger context of galactic transformation. They did everything right and still lost everything that mattered. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.